I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Growing up in the Midwest, I'd heard all the stories. Haunted barns in cornfields, whispers from Civil War soldiers lingering in old attics, but they were just campfire fodder. Excuses for kids to huddle closer under the stars. Life in our quiet corner of suburban Ohio was too predictable for the supernatural. Mornings blurred into carpools, evenings into soccer practices and microwave dinners. That's what made my son Ethan's morning feel so out of place, like a glitch in the matrix of our everyday normalcy. It was a Tuesday in early October, the kind where the leaves crunch underfoot, but the air hasn't quite surrendered to winter's bite. Ethan was 6, all freckles and wild curls that refused to stay combed, with eyes the color of storm clouds, gray and fathomless, like he was seeing things the rest of us missed. He'd always been sensitive, the type to cry over a squished ladybug or insist we leave the porch light on for the lost fairies. But that night, as I tucked him into his bed shaped like a pirate ship, he grabbed my hand with a grip that belied his small size. "Mommy," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the furnace kicking on downstairs. "Daddy's not who you think he is." I chuckled, smoothing the blanket over his Star Wars sheets. "What do you mean, buddy? Daddy's just daddy. He's probably downstairs watching that game, yelling at the refs like always." Ethan shook his head, curls flopping. His little face crumpled, not in fear exactly, but in that deep, weary sadness adults wear when they've carried a secret too long. "No, Mommy, he's got shadows. They follow him, and they want you to see." Shadows. Kids say the darndest things, right? I kissed his forehead, tasting the salt of his skin, and promised we'd talk about it in the morning. "No more scary stories before bed, okay? Sweet dreams." He nodded, but his eyes followed me to the door, wide and unblinking, until I clicked off the light. Downstairs, Mark was sprawled on the couch, a beer sweating in his hand, the TV flickering with the Browns' latest fumble. He looked up as I entered the kitchen, his smile easy, the one that had hooked me back in college at Ohio State, boyish charm wrapped in flannel and faded jeans. "Hey, babe. Kiddo down?" "Yeah, told me some wild tale about shadows following you." I poured myself a glass of Chardonnay, leaning against the counter. The kitchen was our sanctuary. Granite counters we'd splurged on after his promotion, a fridge humming with family photos, Ethan's first steps, our wedding on the shores of Lake Erie, vacations to the Smoky Mountains. Mark laughed, a deep rumble that usually made my stomach flip. Tonight it landed flat. Shadows? Jesus, Sarah, he's 6. Next he'll say the boogeyman lives in the dryer. But his eyes, those warm hazel eyes that used to melt me, flickered. Just for a second, like a bulb about to burn out. The next few days blurred into routine. Pumpkins carved on the front stoop, trick-or-treat planning with the neighborhood moms over coffee at the strip mall Starbucks. Ethan didn't mention it again, but I caught him watching Mark with those storm cloud eyes, sidelong glances at breakfast, frozen mid-bite of his cinnamon toast crunch. Mark noticed too, ruffling the boy's hair a little too roughly one morning. "What's with the stare down, champ? You plotting world domination?" Ethan flinched, spoon clattering into his bowl. "Just be careful, Daddy." Mark's brow furrowed, but he played it off with a wink at me. Kid's got a vivid imagination, like his mom. I forced a smile, but unease prickled under my skin like static. That night, after Ethan was asleep, I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Mark at 22, grinning from the deck of a fishing boat on Lake Huron. Us at prom, awkward and in love. The ultrasound of Ethan, our miracle after 2 miscarriages. No shadows there. Just us, building a life brick by boring, beautiful brick. It was Friday when the first real crack appeared. Mark came home late, tie askew, double shadowing his jaw. The plant had OT, he said, but his eyes dodged mine as he kissed my cheek. Too quick. Too perfunctory. Ethan was already in bed, feverish with a cold that had him whimpering in his sleep. I brewed tea, handed Mark a Scotch net, and we sat at the kitchen island, the silence stretching like taffy. "Are you okay?" I asked, finally, tracing the rim of my mug. He nodded, too fast. "Yeah, just long week. Boss is riding us hard on quotas." His fingers drummed the counter, a rhythm I'd never noticed before. Tap, tap, pause. Tap, like Morse code for something unspoken. I reached for his hand. "Ethan's been acting weird. That shadow thing, maybe he's picking up on your stress." Mark's laugh was sharp, edged. Shadows. Jesus, Sarah. He's 6. Next he'll say the boogeyman lives in the dryer. But his eyes, those warm hazel eyes that used to melt me, flickered just for a second, like a bulb about to burn out. Saturday morning brought rain, the kind that turns Ohio gray and sodden, washing leaves into gutters like confetti from a drowned parade. We planned a lazy day. Pancakes, board games, maybe a drive to the cider mill if the clouds broke. But Ethan woke screaming, thrashing in his sheets like drowning. "Daddy's shadows, they're here! They're in the house!" I bolted upstairs, Mark right behind, his face pale as milk. Ethan clung to me, sobs racking his tiny frame, his skin hot and slick with sweat. "I saw them, Mommy, last night when you were sleeping. They came out of Daddy's closet, black like smoke but with eyes, red eyes. They whispered your name." Mark knelt, voice gentle. "Hey, buddy, it's okay. No shadows, just a bad dream." But as he pulled Ethan into a hug, the boy went rigid, eyes locked on something over Mark's shoulder. Empty air to me. We dosed him with children's Tylenol, tucked him back in his bed with his stuffed T-Rex, Mr. Chompers, clutched like a shield. Downstairs, Mark paced the living room, phone to his ear, murmuring into it, low and urgent. I caught fragments. "Not now. Handle it. Yeah, she's fine." "Who was that?" I asked when he hung up. "Work. Some issue with inventory." He forced a grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's make those pancakes. Kid'll wake up starving." The pancakes were leaden, the syrup cloying. Ethan picked at his, pushing blueberries around like mines in a field. "Don't eat too much, Mommy. The shadows like sweet things. They might come for you next." Mark's fork clattered. "Enough, Ethan. No more of this nonsense." His voice cracked like thunder, the first real anger I'd heard from him in years. Ethan shrank, tears spilling anew, and I shot Mark a look. "What the hell?" "Sorry, kiddo," Mark muttered, raking a hand through his hair. "Daddy's just tired. Finish up, okay?" But the damage was done. Ethan retreated to his room. Door clicked shut with a finality that echoed. I followed Mark to the garage, where he busied himself with a lawnmower, though the grass hadn't grown in weeks. "Talk to me," I said, arms crossed against the chill seeping from the concrete floor. "What's going on? Really?" He straightened, wiping grease from his hands on a rag. "Nothing, Sarah. Swear to God. Work's kicking my ass, that's all. And Ethan's, I don't know, maybe he needs to see someone. A therapist or something?" "A therapist? For imagining shadows?" My voice rose, sharp as the shears on the workbench. "He's 6, Mark. Kids have nightmares, but you're acting like you know something." His jaw tightened, a muscle ticking. "I don't. Drop it." He stormed back inside, leaving me in the dim light of bare bulbs, the air thick with oil and unspoken accusations. That afternoon, while Mark mowed the non-existent lawn, a pointless loop around the yard, I snuck into his office. It was a converted spare room, walls lined with shelves of car manuals and faded Buckeyes memorabilia. His desk was tidy, laptop closed, but the trash bin overflowed with crumpled papers. I rifled through. Junk mail, a takeout receipt from a diner in Akron, 40 minutes away, dated last Tuesday when he'd claimed overtime. My heart stuttered. Akron? Why Akron? Underneath, a yellow post-it. Meeting 8 p.m. Warehouse. Don't be late. R. R. Who the hell was R? I pocketed the note, pulse hammering, and closed the lid. Paranoia, I told myself, but Ethan's words clawed at me. He's not who you think he is. Dinner was tense, a casserole I'd thrown together from freezer scraps. Tuna noodle, Ethan's favorite, but he barely touched it. Mark was all apologies, extra hugs for the boy, but his eyes darted to the clock. "Gotta run to the store," he announced at 7:30, keys jingling. "Out of milk." "In the rain?" "It's pouring." I peered out the window, sheets of water sluicing down the panes. "Won't take long." He kissed me, quick again, and was gone, taillights vanishing into the downpour. Ethan and I curled on the couch with The Incredibles, but his head on my lap felt heavy, like he was bracing for impact. Halfway through, he sat up, eyes fixed on the front door. "They're going out tonight. The shadows. I heard them planning." "Ethan," I sighed, pausing the movie. "Sweetie, shadows aren't real. They're just tricks of the light." He turned to me, face solemn as an old soul's. "You don't believe me because you haven't seen, but you will, Mommy, tonight. Promise you'll hide if they come back." A chill wormed down my spine, unrelated to the draft from the vents. "Okay, buddy. Promise. I held him close until his breathing evened, then carried him to bed, the house creaking like it was settling into secrets. Mark returned at 10:45, soaked to the bone, claiming the store was mobbed. He smelled of rain and something metallic, coppery, like pennies. I didn't ask. We made love that night, urgent and mechanical, his hands gripping my hips too hard, as if anchoring himself to normalcy. Afterward, he slept like the dead, snores rumbling, but I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, Ethan's warning a loop in my brain. Sunday dawned brittle, the rain relenting to a mist that clung like regret. Church in the morning, St. Mary's with its steeple piercing the fog, then brunch with the Petersons next door. Karen Peterson cornered me in the kitchen, her voice a conspiratorial hush over mimosas. Mark looks beat, hun. Everything okay? Yeah, just work, I sipped, the orange juice tart on my tongue. You know how it is. She nodded, but her eyes, sharp like her bob haircut, lingered. Heard he was in Akron last week. My cousin works dispatch at the highway patrol. Saw his truck on a camera. Odd for overtime. My glass paused midair. Akron? Warehouse district. Rough area. She patted my hand, rings cool against my skin. If you ever need to talk. I mumbled thanks, the brunch blurring after that. Back home, Ethan napped, Mark tinkered in the garage. I Googled Akron Warehouse District on my phone, heart in my throat. Abandoned factories, opioid dens, whispers of gangs running meth labs. Nothing about Ford parts. That evening, as Mark grilled burgers on the back patio, smoke curling into the twilight, I confronted him. Ethan was inside, coloring superheroes with capes like flames. Akron, Mark. What were you really doing there? He flipped a patty, spatula scraping. What? Karen mentioned it. Highway cam. You said overtime at the plant. The grill hissed, juices flaring. Mark's shoulders tensed, then sagged. It's nothing, Sarah. Side gig. Extra cash for Christmas. Delivering parts to a buddy's shop. Delivering? In a warehouse? Yeah, look, it's legit. No big deal. He turned, eyes pleading. Trust me, okay? For us. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But trust is a fragile thing, cracked with post-its and lies. Ethan's scared. Of you. Of shadows. Mark's face darkened, sunset painting him in bloody hues. This again? I'm his father, Sarah, not some monster. Then act like it. I walked away, the screen door slamming like a guillotine. Night fell heavy, the house settling into silence, broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall, a wedding gift from his parents, long gone. Ethan woke at midnight, padding into our room, Mr. Chompers dangling from one hand. Mommy, it's time. They're here. I sat up, sheets tangling. Mark snored beside me, oblivious. Go back to bed, sweetie. No, his whisper cracked. Listen. A sound like footsteps on gravel, but we were on a cul-de-sac, no gravel for miles. Then closer, a scrape, like nails on wood. From the closet, my blood iced. Mark, I hissed, shaking his shoulder. He grumbled, rolling over. The closet door creaked open. An inch, then two. Darkness yawned, thicker than it should be, pooling like ink on the carpet, and from it, eyes, red pinprick eyes, floating in the void, multiplying like fireflies in hell. Ethan whimpered, burrowing into me. See, I told you. Mark bolted upright, fumbling for the lamp. Light flooded, banishing the nothing. Empty closet, suits hanging limp, shoes lines neat. What the? But I saw it. A flicker, gone in a blink. A shape, humanoid but wrong. Elongated limbs folding into shadow. It slithered behind Mark's golf bag, vanishing. Jesus, Mark breathed, pulling us close. Nightmare, all of us. Ethan sobbed. No, Daddy, it's you. They come from you. Mark's arms stiffened around the boy. What did you say? They follow you home from the bad place, the warehouse. The room spun. Akron, warehouse, R. I shoved Mark away, heart pounding. Tell me now. He deflated, face crumpling. Sarah, it's not what you think. Then what is it? My voice was steel, honed by 8 years of love turned suspicion. He glanced at Ethan, then back at me, eyes haunted. The deliveries, they're not parts. It's product. For Raul, R. He's connected. Mob stuff, low level. I mule pills from Detroit to Akron, drop them at the warehouse. Extra cash, like I said, for us, for the house, Ethan's college, pills. Opioids. The shadows weren't ghosts, they were guilt manifesting in Ethan's innocent mind, or maybe something darker, a psychic echo of the rot Mark had let into our home. You lied, tears burned. To me, to him. I had to. One last run, next week, then I'm out. Cool. Ethan wailed. No, Daddy, the shadows, they're mad. They don't let go. A crash from downstairs, glass shattering, the front door banging open, footsteps heavy, multiple, voices low and accented. Marky boy, time to pay up. Mark paled. Shit, Raoul's guys. Early, panic surged. Hide Ethan, now. He scooped the boy, shoving him into the ensuite bathroom, locking it. Stay quiet, champ. Daddy's got this. But Ethan pounded the door. Mommy, don't let them take you. Mark grabbed a baseball bat from the closet, his old high school slugger, positioning himself in the bedroom door. I backed against the wall, phone in hand, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. Intruders, 142 Oakwood Lane. Hurry. The shadows returned. Not illusions now, but men. 3 of them, burly in leather jackets, faces scarred like bad welds. The leader, Raoul, I guessed, had a snake tattoo coiling up his neck, eyes cold as the red pricks from the closet. Marky, he drawled, gold tooth glinting. You short us last drop. Where's the rest? Mark's grip whitened on the bat. It's coming, Raoul. Tomorrow. Swear. Raoul chuckled, a wet rasp. Swears are cheap, like you. His goons fanned out, one yanking drawers, another smashing the nightstand mirror, shards raining like accusations. I screamed into the phone, they're armed, send help. Raoul's head snapped to me. Who's the pretty lady? Wife? She know about our little arrangement? Leave her out, Mark growled, bat rising. But Raoul was faster, drawing a Glock from his waistband, casual as checking a watch. Drop it, pendejo, or I paint the walls with her brains. Time fractured. Mark hesitated, bat lowering a fraction. Ethan's cries echoed from the bathroom, muffled, heartbreaking. The shadows, real now, cast by the intruder's bulk, danced on the walls, twisting into claws. I lunged, not thinking, grabbing a lamp and swinging wild. It connected with the nearest goon's knee, a sickening crack. He howled, stumbling, and chaos erupted. Mark swung the bat, connecting with Raoul's arm, gun skittering across the carpet. Fists flew, grunts and thuds filling the room like a bar brawl. I scrambled for the Glock, fingers closing on cold metal, just as the second goon tackled me. Pain exploded in my ribs, vision spotting, but I fired, blind, desperate. The shot boomed, deafening, and he jerked back, clutching his thigh, blood blooming dark. Sirens wailed distant, closing fast. Raoul roared, pinning Mark against the dresser, knife flashing, a switchblade, serrated edge catching light. You think cops scare me? I'll gut you slow. Ethan's scream pierced. Mommy! I fired again, the Glock bucking. The bullet grazed Raoul's shoulder, spinning him. Mark surged, bat cracking against the man's skull. Once, twice. Raoul slumped, out cold. The third goon bolted, crashing down the stairs. Tires squealed outside. Backup or escape? Police burst through the front door below, shouts echoing. Cleveland PD, hands up! We collapsed, Mark and I, bat and gun clattering. Blood slicked the floor. Whose? I couldn't tell. Ethan pounded the bathroom door. Mommy, are they gone? I crawled to it, unlocking with shaking hands. He tumbled out, clinging, his face buried in my neck. The shadows, they're fading. Downstairs, cops swarmed, cuffing the wounded, Mirandizing the unconscious. Paramedics followed, lights strobing blue and red through the windows, turning the cul-de-sac into a crime scene circus. Neighbors gawked from porches, robes clutched tight. Mark sat on the curb, ice pack to his split lip, as detectives grilled him. The story spilled. debts from a bad bet on the Steelers, Raul's opportunity 6 months back, easy money, 1 run turning to 5. The shadows Ethan saw, hallucinations from proximity maybe, or the boy's empathy picking up Mark's terror. No ghosts, just the specter of addiction's underbelly, the opioid crisis gnawing at America's heartlands like rust on a 72 Chevy. I held Ethan in the ambulance, his fever broken as they checked my bruises. "You saved us, Mommy. We saved each other." But as Mark met my eyes across the chaos, defeated, pleading, I wondered if we could be saved. The next weeks were a whirlwind. Statements at the station, lawyers for Mark's plea deal, cooperation for reduced time. Raul's crew crumbled under federal heat. Turns out the warehouse was a nexus for fentanyl flowing from Mexico. Mark got probation, community service, mandatory NA meetings. We sold the house, too stained by memory, relocating to a rental in Columbus, closer to my sister. Therapy for all three. Ethan's drawings shifted from black scribbles to rainbows. Mark's hands steadied. No more tapping Morse code. But some nights, when the wind rattles the new windows, I catch Ethan staring into corners, whispering to Mr. Chompers, "Are they gone, right? For good?" I nod, pulling him close. For good. But in the quiet, I wonder about the flicker I saw, that elongated shape in the closet. Was it just adrenaline's trick or something more? Mark swears it's over, his shadows buried with the bad choices. And mostly, I believe him. Love's a stubborn thing, rooted deep in Ohio soil. But trust, that's a slower bloom. And in the suburbs, where picket fences hide the fractures, nothing prepares you for the dark just beyond the light.